Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. So, when it comes to mindset, we want to get to the place in our life where, one, we truly embrace who we are. We truly embrace who we are. And what that means is we truly embrace the reality that we are perfect just as we are. We are perfect just as we are. We are always doing the best that we can do every day. And that doesn't mean that we can't get smarter tomorrow than we were today. However, we are perfect. We are meant to be who we are, and we do our best at all times. And that doesn't mean we can't get smarter or better tomorrow. So, embracing who we are. Secondly, we approach each day with an empty mind. We let go of all the nonsensical chatter that's taking place all day long. If you're thinking about yourself, then all those thoughts are wasted thoughts. The only thoughts you should have are how to make the world a better place. Any thoughts you're having about you and your life is total nonsense. Let it go. So we approach each day with an empty mind. We approach each day with an open heart, coming from a place of unconditional love. That's what it means to have an open heart. Approach each situation, each person, everything that's happening in our life, moment to moment, with unconditional love. Period. Embracing who we are, empty mind, open heart, and we serve the present moment. We serve the present moment. If you can live in that space, embracing who you are, empty mind, open heart, serving the present moment, you'll have the most incredible experience of life. In order to get there, you've got to let go of everything. You've got to let go of everything. It's not about doing more. It's not about getting more. It's not about being more. It's not about more at all. It's about letting go of everything. And why are we letting go of everything? Anyone?
Because everything's temporary.
Everything's temporary. Everything. The nature of life is impermanence. The nature of life is impermanence. And instead of embracing who we are, instead of embracing that we're perfect, embracing that we're infinite possibility, embracing that we're one with life, we don't embrace any of that because we believe we're not good enough, or we believe or we're a bad person. And we don't believe life is going to work out for us. And that's all programming that we pick up as life unfolds. It's not who we are, it's our programming. And we buy into that programming every day. And that programming gets reinforced day after day after day after day. And we have to understand it's our programming and we have to let it go. And it becomes our programming because we cling to what we want and we resist what we don't want, rather than letting that energy in and letting that energy pass. We don't understand that everything that happens is temporary. And if you want an example of this, just think in your life, what are some things that recently bothered you? And then think 3 days later, were you even thinking about that thing any longer? Get in the habit, whatever it is, let it in because it's supposed to be there. It took 13.8 billion years to get there, to your front door, specifically for you. So let it in, do whatever you need to do, and then let it go. Do whatever you need to do and let it go. The idea for all of you that somehow achieving some result external to you, selling a home, making a certain amount of money, being in a relationship, buying a house, sending your kids to college, whatever it is that you think you need to have in order to feel good, whatever it is in the external world, understand that nothing in the external world can make you feel good longer term internally. This pursuit of more is leading you down the wrong path. And rather than trying to get more every day, you need to be letting go. And the two things that you want to let go, there are four things that you want to let go of specifically. You want to let go of any negative emotions that you're experiencing. Grief, apathy, depression, fear, desire, anger, pride, all those things, all the way up to courage. You want to be letting go of any negative emotion that you feel at any point in time. Feel it. Feel it. I'm not saying don't feel it. Feel it. Don't think about it. Any thoughts that you have around negative emotions, wasted thought. Just feel the feeling and let it pass through you. Feel the feeling and let it pass through you. So, one, letting go of negative emotion. Two, letting go of your resistance to feeling positive emotion. This is a big one. Letting go of your resistance to feeling positive emotion. Letting go of your resistance to embracing your highest self. You cling to your lower self. You buy into all your bullshit, hook, line, and sinker, no problem. However, you resist that you're perfect. You resist that you're infinite possibility. You resist that you're one with life. You resist your intrinsic nature of who you are. So letting go of the negative emotion, letting go of our resistance to what makes us extraordinary, letting go of the past, and letting go of the future. So every day, we talk about exercise, we talk about meditation, we talk about getting your head in the right place. What you need to develop is the practice every day of letting go. Every bad thing that you've experienced mentally, emotionally in your life is still in you. And there's an energy inside of you, your highest self, that's trying to release up every day. There's an energy inside of you that's trying to come out every day. And it's blocked by all the stuff that's happened in the past. And that energy can't get through. And we feel that energy when we make a sale or we meet someone that we fall in love with or something great happens in our life. That energy gets through until what? Until what?
Until we block it.
Until that deal falls out of escrow. Until that person that you thought you loved so much says something wrong or does something wrong. Or that thing that you had your heart on disappears. Because everything that happens in the external world is what?
Temporary.
Temporary, transient, impermanent. And so every day you've got to develop the practice of letting go, letting go. And what does that mean? It means running through your life and really thinking about how did you get here? How did you get here? How did you start believing you weren't good enough? How did you start believing that you were a bad person? How did you start believing that things weren't going to work out for you, no matter how hard you tried? How did you start believing that somehow you're going to be punished for what you've done at various points in your life? So go back and think about how that way of thinking began to unfold. And the choices that you made as a result of that type of thinking. And let it go. Your subconscious mind doesn't understand time, doesn't understand how long you've been holding on to this stuff. Just let it go. And the good news, there's only a finite amount of stuff that you're holding on to. And if you start today, not resisting anything, if you start today letting everything pass through, not clinging, and you just start working on everything that's happened in the past, at some point in time, you'll have let it all go. And just try it today. Just try it this week. Anything that's happening, just realize it's temporary. Anything that's happening. And see how that changes your opinion. Whatever happens, know that it's temporary. Know that it's temporary. And see how that changes how you feel about what's happening. Good or bad. Feelings are just feelings. Thoughts are just thoughts. And if you're not thinking about how to make the world a better place, then all your thinking is wasted. Whatever thoughts you have are wasted. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your body. You're the awareness of all of those things. That's what you truly are. And that awareness is infinite and all-knowing. The fact that you are here on this globe that's spinning around in the universe in the middle of nowhere is an absolute miracle. You're only going to be here for a brief period of time. Let all the bullshit go. All right. Any thoughts, comments?
That letting it go, that's the huge challenge. I mean, that's, if you can master that.
All right. What's challenging about it?
Well, like you said, I mean, we identify with our problems sometimes. You didn't say that, but that's kind of how it goes. It's like that old monkey who's got his hand in the jar. You're holding on to those pebbles or whatever it is, and you don't want to let it go. You're almost habitual to thinking the way you think. And that's a challenge for me, at least. I can't speak for everybody else.
So again, I highly recommend you read The Untethered Soul. I highly recommend you go through the 8-session video program by Michael Singer called Living from a Place of Surrender. And then I highly recommend you start reading the book Letting Go by David Hawkins. And he walks you through from one negative emotion to the next. You know, it goes right up the line with, you know, the progression of emotions. And the way out of negativity is therefore the willingness to acknowledge and let go of negative feelings, and at the same time, the willingness to let go of resisting their positive opposite. Clinging to the negative and smallness in ourselves and resisting the positive and the greatness in ourselves. That's what we all do. We cling to the negative smallness and we resist the positive and the greatness.
But
When
Steve,
go ahead.
I was going to say, doesn't this also require, yes, we have to feel it, but you said not to think about it. But in some way, I feel like we do have to think about it as far as how we're feeling, so we can really look at it and understand what we're doing. Otherwise, we're going to just end up repeating these behaviors.
No, any thought you have is just going to be repetitive nonsense. You just need to let the feeling go. You need to understand it's only temporary. That's all it is. When we let go of resisting the feeling, then the opposite feeling is on the other side. It lifts us up from being a helpless victim to the conscious chooser. But it does not mean that we are now aware that we are in our current position out of choice. But it does mean that we are now aware that we are in our current position out of choice. We have total freedom with greater latitude of action and choice. We are only subject to a negative thought or belief if we consciously say that it applies to us. We are free to choose not to believe into a negative belief system. For negativity to apply to our life, we must first subscribe to it, and secondly, give it the energy of belief. If we have the power to make negativity manifest in our life, obviously our mind also has the power to make its converse come true. One surprising effect of the willingness to let go of our inner negativity is the discovery that the polar opposite of the negative feelings exists. There is an inner reality that we can term our inner greatness or higher self. It has much more power than the inner negativity. In return for letting go of the payoffs that we were getting from the negative position, we are now surprised by the positive payoffs that stem from the power of our positive feelings. For example, when we let go of blame, we experience forgiveness. Our higher self, which we might say is the composite of our higher feelings, has almost unlimited capabilities. As we stop giving authority and energy to all of the negative programs that stem from our own thinking, we stop giving away our power to others and begin to own it back again. This results in a rise of self-esteem, the return of creativity, and the opening of a positive vision of the future that replaces fearfulness. The simultaneous letting go of the negative and letting go of resisting the positive result in a shift of inner energies, and there is an accompanying subtle change in our self-esteem. But because in the unconscious mind, there is no such thing as time, we can choose at any time in the present to heal the past event. As we go through our own emotional healing for our own sake, that past event now begins to take on a different meaning. Our higher self begins to create a new context for it. We can see the hidden gift. We can end up acknowledging with gratitude that it gave us a new opportunity to learn, to grow, and to acquire wisdom. When we come upon bitterness, what we have really discovered is an unhealed area in our own emotional makeup. And the effort that we put into healing it will bring enormous rewards. In any situation which involves suffering, we have to ask ourselves, how long am I willing to pay the costs? What were the karmic propensities to begin with? How much blame is enough? Is there a time to call an end to it? How long will I hang on to it? How much sacrifice am I willing to pay to the other person for their wrongs, real or imaginary? How much guilt is enough? How much self-punishment is enough? When will I give up the secret pleasure of self-punishment? When does the sentence come to an end? When we really examine it, we will always find that we have been punishing ourselves for ignorance, naivete, innocence, and lack of inner education. We can ask ourselves, when was I ever trained in the techniques of emotional self-healing? When I went to school, did they teach me courses on consciousness? Did anybody ever tell me that I had the freedom to choose what went into my mind? Was I ever taught that I could refuse all of the negative programming? Did anyone ever tell me the laws of consciousness? If not, why beat ourselves up about having innocently believed certain things? Why not stop beating ourselves up right now? We all did what we thought was the best in the moment. It seemed like a good idea at the time, is what we can say about our past actions and those of others. We've all been unwittingly programmed without our conscious assent. Out of confusion, ignorance, and naivete, we bought into the negative programs. We let them run us. But now we can choose to stop. We can choose a different direction. We can choose to become more aware, more conscious, more responsible, and more discerning. We can refuse to sit there like a blank tape recorder, taking in every program the world hands us. The world is only too willing to exploit our naivete and to play upon our smallness with all its vanities and fears. when we become aware of how we were manipulated, exploited, and taken in, anger is going to come up. Be ready to handle it. It's okay to be angry. It's better to be angry than apathetic by a long shot. In anger, we have a lot of energy. We can do something about it. We can take action. We can change our mind. We can reverse direction. Then it's easy to jump from anger to courage. On the level of courage, we can see it, examine it, and observe how it all happens. We begin to see that our smallness was a bill of goods that we bought. In that investigation, we will stumble upon our own inner innocence. When we rediscover it, we can let go of a lot of guilt. When the guilt goes, necessity for self-punishment goes with it. And that lifts us right out of apathy and depression. We can choose to revalidate ourselves, our value, and our worth. And we can see how others were programmed just as we were. They too were doing what they thought was the best at the time. We don't have to blame them or ourselves anymore. We can give up the whole blame game as obsolete and ineffectual. So what did you hear?
We have a choice.
And that choice is?
To let go of the negative and live in the opposite, the positive, the
Let go of the negative and let go of our resistance to the positive. Both of those things. Anyone else?
We can begin again.
Yeah, right here, right now, today. Doesn't make a difference what's happened in the past. Does not make a difference. Why? Why?
Past is gone.
It's gone. It's gone. We can let it go. We can let it all go. All of it. Let it go.
It's okay to be angry, but not hold on to it. Not, you know.
The anger will move you up the chain of emotions to where you want to get to is courage. And what is courage? To be willing to look at what's going on and confront it. Confront it. And again, when you truly get that everything that happens in life is temporary, everything, then that gives you the ability to let it in and let it go. Let it in and let it go. Let it in. Like Ellen, we're talking about at 5:30 this morning with that buyer. Have that conversation. Have that conversation. Let it in and let it go. All right. Any other thoughts before we get offline?
All good.
Hey, Steve,
Yes.
sometimes when I meditate, I kind of envision, I kind of zoom back and back and back, where I can start to see myself as just like a very tiny human being on the planet Earth, and it's less about feeling small and more about seeing how much is out there, and then how I grab on to the things that are right around me. I have all these infinite options to choose from, but I do the same small things all the time. Like I'm not, there's infinite possibility, but I choose to grab onto these tiny little things that are around me and do it over and over and over again.
And the reason for that, and we all do this, we take our problems and what do? We put them right in front of our face and we stare at them all day long. This is what we do with our problems. How much perspective can you have about this when you're staring at it like this all day long? None. And what you described is what you need to do. You need to create space between you and this problem, because when you create space, it looks different from a different perspective. And the further away you get from it, the less hold it has on you. Every day, realize, every single one of you, we are spinning around on this globe in the middle of nowhere. So what big deal, whatever you're worrying about, how big a deal is it? How big a deal is it really? In the scheme of 13.8 billion years, how big a deal is it really? All right, everybody, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, coach.
Thanks, Steve.